I love your energy. We're going to have a good afternoon, but this is a home game for me.
All right, and with that, welcome. We are here and ready to go. Hey, we have a lot to cover. I've been going through rumors we've got in the league. I've got pages and pages of stuff here. I have breakdowns on every team. I have a couple of trades that got sent in, and we're anticipating a few more coming in today, so that'll be good. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Supporting the Guinness. Don't have a Guinness at home today, but I do have Mill Street Vanilla Porter. Keep me going here. And Ziggy Balfi today. The old Ziggy. Gotta love the Ziggy. Good old Balfi. He's my man. Anyway. Sorry about that. Okay, so first quick rule change. We brought to light that we're one of the few leagues that doesn't run a maximum amount of playing time on the goaltenders. Most leagues that are doing it through the sim are having massive issues with exhaustion and having players sit out. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to implement the same rule that's in, I think Joe in Dallas has the same rule in his league, and then PHL. So starting next year, 4,200 minutes max, which is about 70 games without the overtimes. So it's going to force guys to use backups and to send lines, and it'll also give some trade value for some goaltenders. We're putting this in now because guys will start to look at this for next year before the trade deadline and again in the off season. So it is in place for next year for sure. So we'll get right into it here. Looking back here at the standings, right now Carolina's first in the East and in their division. So they're leading the way there. In the West, it's Chicago they have their division lead, but Vancouver is actually leading the conference. So we're going to start with some rumors and stuff right off the bat in Chicago. Just to set my phone up here. All right. So in Chicago, that's what we're hearing here. Well, they haven't started any talks on Forsberg yet. We believe it's something will get done this offseason, and there's no reason at all to believe that they are shopping him. Luke Schenn, however, he's probably going to play out his contract and walk at season end. This is probably going to act as Chicago's rental defenseman, and I'm expecting a quiet trade deadline from Chicago. They really love their team chemistry, and they don't really see the need to mortgage their future, I don't think, with the weak Western Conference there. So they're definitely one of the favorites in the West. The only real shot maybe to knock them off, I would say, is Minnesota. So in Minnesota, they have really good depth down the middle and probably our league's best defense. They also have $66 million committed next year. So they don't have a lot of room for improvements or additions. But they do have a big question mark in goal with Jarl Halak. I could see a rental like Chris Kelly. It would make sense in Minnesota for the Cup. And then I could see them maybe going at acquiring Lundqvist as well as a rental maybe this season. I could see they have the assets to do a deal like that. It would cost them, my guess, probably 2 first-rounders. But if they could win a Cup with Lundqvist in net, let him walk at season's end, run with Halak again next year. Like he's locked in for 3 years, I think. So they do have 4 first-rounders this draft. So really, I don't think a team that strong needs 4 first-rounders. Use them to your advantage. Spend 2 of them if you can and get Lundqvist. That team would then become the easy favorite, I would think, in the West. Another team that's I'm going to discuss here is Winnipeg. A real unknown this deadline. This GM's first year in the league. He's proven himself to be a big player when it comes to trading, adding Ovechkin and Nyquist, both from Buffalo, just a week onto the job. He's cleared some cap so far moving forward, so it's a little bit more manageable than what he had when he came in. He's still got a few he'd like to move out. I could see him targeting a guy like Chris Russell in Anaheim, or maybe Michael Backlund out of Arizona. would make sense. It would also allow him to move some of those contracts because they could afford to take on a bad contract for him, and they could also gain some futures out of the deal. So that was something that might make sense for Winnipeg. So there's that for sure.
We have a trade to announce. I think you're going to want to hear this. New Jersey.
Well, we got a trade to announce. Let's have a look here. Get in the right spot. There we go. And it is involving Winnipeg. So Winnipeg is moving Sam Bennett. That's a big, big name. Sam Bennett is leaving Winnipeg, and he is going to Dallas. Dallas adding another young piece. And the return for Winnipeg appears to be, it is Buffalo first rounder this year, which I believe was acquired in the Ovechkin deal as well. Or was it? No, Dallas. Sorry, Dallas shipped him. I have no idea what I moved for that. It would have been last year. And Chicago's first in 2018. So it's Buffalo's first this year. Chicago's first in 2018 to Dallas. Sorry, to Winnipeg for Sam Bennett. So Winnipeg just added another center, or sent a young center, adding a couple of first rounders. So that's a team sitting in third, adding 2 first rounders. So not sure there may be more to come out of that. It could be a stepping stone to another deal. So we'll move on here quickly. All right, so that covers what I knew about Winnipeg. Vancouver, the top team in the West right now. They seem unwilling to move their pending RFA goaltender Martin Jones, which is smart. But could that mean that UFA to be Henrik Lundqvist is available? It looks like he's the odd man out. Their crease is especially busy. They also have John Gibson waiting in the wings. So freeing up that cash for them could be a huge advantage from their offseason too, and get a big signing. So Lundqvist, would they need him to go all the way this year? I don't know with Jones and Gibson there, but they might be able to get by with Jones. But Lundqvist could give a huge return for them this deadline. So I could really see something happening there. Otherwise, I really think they're just going to let him walk. The other thing maybe is Dustin Byfuglien. He's been linked to Vancouver. If he went to Vancouver, I could see it being more of a long-term deal than a rental. The asking price on Byfuglien, I would say, is a bit higher. For them would be likely Brandon Gormley and a first rounder, and maybe even a second rounder. Would make sense for that trade. Another spot maybe Vancouver could go would be, because they have a lot of depth and kind of middling defensemen, a lot of 3-4 guys. But they could add some depth if the Byfuglien deal fell through. Maybe a John Michael Lyles would make sense for them if Tampa falls a little further out of it. So that's that. We're going to move on to Edmonton.
New Jersey trade. Good afternoon. We have a trade to announce. I think you're going to want to hear this. New Jersey trade.
All right. So we've got another deal. We have a trade to announce. Let's see who this one is. We've got Anaheim is involved in this deal, and Winnipeg. We've got 2 Anaheim, Boston's second-round pick, Ottawa's third-round pick, and Trevor Lewis. And in return, Winnipeg is getting, or dealing, and so Anaheim's shipping a second-rounder, a third-rounder. I'm reading it wrong. This was great. Okay, to Winnipeg. Winnipeg's first rounder in 2017. So that's what it is. Winnipeg's first rounder was owned by Anaheim, I think acquired earlier this year. It is going back to Anaheim, back to Winnipeg. Getting myself confused again. Winnipeg's reacquiring the first rounder in 2017, and in return they're giving up a second, a third, and Trevor Lewis. So Winnipeg's added another first-round pick. That's 3 now in the last 5 minutes. So that's interesting. So it sounds to me like something's brewing there. I don't see why really Anaheim did that deal, to be honest with you. Maybe, well, the first rounder is going to be late. second, third. I don't know. I guess Trevor Lewis is a serviceable player. I'm not sure his contract status. We'll take a quick peek just out of curiosity. And he is Trevor Lewis. Let's see him. Oh, he signed for 4 years at 2.2. So bottom six guy, a little expensive, lose some salary. This is actually a really beneficial deal for Winnipeg, without knowing what else they're going to do. So I'm not real sure why Anaheim did it. They are getting a guy who they can use at least, I guess, and he is signed to a reasonable enough contract. So, but that's that. That's the deal we got set. So we'll go with that for now. So I'll finish that off. Moving on. Let's get on to. We're on to Edmonton. So Edmonton, Mr. Lewis there. Lewis has been renowned in this league, adding middle six type forward to the deadline. He likes to get those guys kind of like a Teddy Purcell type who he's had before, somebody like that. So I could see him doing something like that again. Insiders have also told me that he's been dealing with a massive internal struggle right now. It may be affecting his team and his duties. He's torn in his life right now with a big personal issue. It's said that this may turn him into a downward spiral of heroin and crack cocaine. The insiders have the cause of this being the new Batman vs. Superman movie is coming out, and he just doesn't know which side to take. So I really hope he can get over this. It's going to be a tough one for him. So it's interesting to see how his deadline goes from there. The next team we're going to look at, refresh here. Make sure we have nothing else coming in. We got a couple here. Okay, so it's complete. Yes, they are. All right, so we have
a trade to announce. I think you're going to want to hear this. New Jersey trades the 9th selection in the
So keep forgetting to stop that. So the trade we have to announce. This is involving Nashville and Philadelphia. Neither team we have covered, so we'll see how my breakdown goes after this. But Nashville is adding Jimmy Vesey, who's a prospect, and Dan Boyle. Dan Boyle. That one I'm going to have to check. Philadelphia, in return, gets a second-round pick from Minnesota. The reason I'm curious to check that is I'm aware of Nashville's cap scenario. And it's a very precocious one. And I think they have a large commitment for next year as well. So adding a Dan Boyle, now they're going to have one fantastic defense. They basically have the Rangers defense. They have Dan Girardi, Mark Stahl, now and Dan Boyle. Next year's commitment's not bad. And this year they're okay. They're going to be under the cap. I'm saying 67 now. So yeah, they had the room to add Boyle. I guess the move is more for Vesey, pretty highly rated, I believe, college prospect. Shockingly, I actually know him. Not know him. I know of him. He's one of the few players I have researched. So I'm getting a second-round pick for Vesey, basically, and cap clearance. Boyle is signed next year as well. Just go down to Philly here real quick. Philly, Dan Boyle, one more year after this. So they will have him next year. And I don't really know why they made the deal. Kind of late in the game for them to make a playoff push, but they are only 5 points out. So, but they have 4 teams to leap. So, kind of surprised at that one. I think Vesey was more the target there for Nashville. So we've got that deal. That's good to see. There's that one. I'll get back to the rumors here. San Jose. There's been a lot of talks there. He's looking to move Mikko Koivu and trying to find a number 1 goalie for him, either now or in the future. He's also looking to upgrade his defense, especially the bottom 4. Some of the guys he's got rumored to go out are Fedor Tutin, Jan Hedja, and even Calvin DeHaan, who he just acquired from Buffalo. I'm wondering myself, the rumored deal out of Colorado could be out of Colorado. There was some talk there about Jonas Brodin as well. So I'll get to Colorado in a second. I got the breakdown on that possible deal there. Also, GM Joe there in San Jose, he's also going to take a trip down to Florida himself, real life, and he wants to check on scouting Jaromir Jagr. So, word is he's going to drink a lot of twisted tea down there, some chocolate whiskey, and checking in some cigars down there while he's there. So, Joe's trying to kill himself quickly with daily cigars and whiskey. I've been noticing on Facebook. So, living hard, I guess. But good for him. Enjoy the specialties in life, right? The sources also say that he's close to signing Jonas Brodin to a long-term contract. However, talks have stalled as of late. So, the next one we've got is St. Louis. The Blues. They're set up to make another magical playoff run, sitting in a wild card spot as an underdog again. They've knocked off big teams pretty well every year that this league's been in existence. They seem to Cinderella story into the playoffs and then knock off a big team. But this may be the last year I think we see St. Louis for a while. They've got Bishop as a pending free agent, UFA, and really no one to speak of behind him. They've yet to even make a big offer to him, or any offer. So I'm wondering if they may, along with this red flag, they also have $55 million committed next year, not leaving a lot of space to do anything in the offseason. And they've also been adding quietly a number of first and second round picks for 2016. It's been pretty quiet for them doing that. So I'm wondering if this is maybe their kind of last hurrah. So I think they may just have a quiet deadline, ride it out, and likely be more active moving established players that they have on their roster now for picks at the draft would be my guess. Colorado, right away with them. Despite them being a veteran-laden team in a weak Western Conference, they're playing below 500. They could miss the playoffs. They have limited cap space left, so they may choose to sell off pieces for some of the big shooters in the East. The Jake Allen one is the big curious one for me. I've heard a couple things on him. I've heard Jake Allen heading to Dallas in exchange for Morgan Riley and picks. But he's also linked to a larger deal, like I said, with San Jose. He could be looking for defensive help. So like I said, maybe a Jonas Brodin or Calvin DeHaan, something like that in the deal. So it'd be interesting to see which one of those two teams. It seems to be those are the two front runners for Jake Allen, and it really looks like he may get moved for longer term help for Colorado. They also have been in contract talks with Riley Sheehan and Alexei Marchenko, but both have hit a standstill. So I can see one or both of them also being moved for big additions for if they decide to make a deep run in that weak West. If they were to move those type of players, Calgary in the West, or Toronto, or Philly, or Tampa maybe in the East, would make a lot of sense looking after those two young players for some kind of help current. Arizona, we've got GM Sullivan there, and he's got a lot of talent there, but he can't seem to make it work. He may consider blowing up that roster again if the team completely falls out of it. But they are, right now, they're sitting only a couple points out. They're only a couple points out in the West, so there's definitely a shot they make the playoffs. But if they do decide to drop out, they gave up a lot of other assets when they got Subban in the deal. and it hasn't panned out so much for this year. So I can see them doing something that way. He may even consider a move on Subban again himself. So the dominant Swedish roster that he's got may actually come to an end. And I believe Carl Gunnarsson will be the first player to go. Patrick Berglund, Michael Backlund would be another guys that could end up being moved at this deadline. Into Anaheim, they've got Hayden Fleury, and he's being used as bait right now for young rated forwards. Sebastian Aho and Brendan Gould, they've also been discussed in details, big deals. Dallas being the target spot there. He's also, Dustin himself, he's had a few of his own personal issues as well. He's suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and flashbacks of foam cement jobs and time spent down in, when we worked out west, and anytime he spent in Grand Prairie, Alberta. And he has nightly dreams or nightmares, I guess, of his former manager Troy, so in a Speedo. And so it's said he's undergoing electric shock therapy right now. He's also trying to remove the word fuck from his vocabulary because it's used in every other word in any sentence he uses. So this has kind of affected him with trade talks, where GMs think he's swearing at them or suffering from Tourette syndrome. But that is not the case. So perhaps that's why he's getting swindled in some of these deals, like that Winnipeg one he did today, which, again, I still don't make a lot of sense on his side. But what's done is done. As we move through the West, we're on to Calgary. Just double check we have nothing else here. Calgary, they don't have a lot of wiggle room with their roster and space. What's going on? Okay. They don't have a lot of wiggle room under their cap unless they can get somebody to take one of his longer-term deals. They also have Ryan Spooner up at season's end. He's also likely due for a significant raise. So Calgary may look to maximize on him now before they sign him. Likely target for Spooner would be Buffalo, of course. And they would now have cap space to take on a guy like Spooner. I guess that's being my team. The moves I've made, yeah, definitely Buffalo would have the room. So he'd be a target. Calgary might have to settle on a deal for futures more so. Some good rated younger players or some prospects, picks, that sort of thing, and maybe hope to include one of his bad contracts too. Buffalo could take one of those off his hands, and maybe that would free him up for the offseason and moving forward. So something for Calgary there, what we're hearing. Two more in the West, I believe. Three more in the West. So Nashville. Well, they just did that trade there just now with a half hour ago with Philadelphia. So they got some things, but I had them listed as seems to be caught in nowhere land. They have a lot of dollars committed to bottom six players. And they quietly added a lot of picks for the 2016 draft. Looks like they have $12 million right now in their cap hit as well for this year. So holding salary for them isn't an option for the rest of this year. So they're pretty well going to have to sit tight, I think, let some of the contracts come off their roster. And then they'll have more that they can move next year as they have 1 or 2 years left by next year on their deals. It looks like it may be a long-term rebuild there in Nashville, but Nick's a good GM, and I think he can turn around, especially with that West being what it is. So we'll see what he does, but I think he's at least a couple of years now with what that roster is. Okay, that's nothing important. In Dallas now, as we've discussed, they did a deal earlier for Sam Bennett. Starting to really get some actually useful pieces rather than just picks there. Andrei Markov, he looks to be moving to either Carolina or Edmonton. They're both pushing hard for him, among other playoff teams. Alex Tanguay and Brooks Light possibly could be shipped out to playoff teams as well. Sven Barchi has been inquired about by multiple teams, including Anaheim, Winnipeg, New Jersey. So Barchi, he could be a good addition for some guys. So that's where I got on him there. All those picks, he's got to soon start adding pieces, and I think he's done a good move there with Sam Bennett for 2 first-rounders. It's a really nice deal for him. So finally an impressive deal that isn't just picks. So good on you there, Joe. We moved to LA. It's been said to me that Tom is struggling with some other personal issues. He's having trouble with his inner demons because he married a Canadian. So this has kind of had him confused as to being a great hockey mind as a Canadian, a wannabe Canadian, or as a U.S. hockey mind. So the result has been, well, that roster you see in LA. It's awful. Have anyone looked at those contracts? My God. Anyway, I'm kidding there, Thomas. Really, I think it's due to too much contact with Chris Floresco in the PHL. I think it's kind of worn you down. If anybody doesn't know, he's the GM of the Hurricanes there. So I think Tom has been waking up in cold sweats at night and having to deal with Chris too often. They're also in a situation where they can't do a lot. They're near or max on their cap hit as well this year, like Nashville. So dealing a guy like Marcel Gottsch, Rob Scuderi, who could be useful pieces for teams, a half salary isn't really an option unless he can hold some salary, because both guys are signed through next year as well. A playoff team at half salary could manage something like that because they'd be a really reasonable signing for next year. One more year rated would be all right, so I could see a deal then. But with him not holding cap, he's kind of stuck. He does have multiple firsts and seconds the next 2 years, so I think they're going to have a really active draft as well and use some of those picks for current NHLers rather than just using them on the draft. Everybody gets a boner around draft time. Well, not everybody, but a lot of those teams that want to target on the picks, so they get the real boner for the draft. So he could use that to his advantage and move some of those picks then to get help right away. He's also considering moving one of those draft lottery picks before the draft at the deadline, which would be either their own or Nashville's pick. So it'd be interesting to see if he does that for a piece right now. So I just got word on that one today. And then that, I guess, wraps up our West. So I'm going to take one more peek at the league here before we move into the East. East rumors. All right. We're going to start off with our leader on the team, which is Carolina. We've heard word. Well, first off, they're close to inking Tarasenko to a long-term deal. That's a no-brainer. The deal's not done, but it is close, which is good to know. It's a smart move as long as he plays like the contract he should deserve anyways. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of something called Barracuda Canada. This was brought to me by another GM. I guess it was started in San Francisco in August 2006. There's one, I guess, now in Vancouver. And with Wolf being down in Vancouver there, now I think we really know what he does for a job. So Barracuda is the largest attended bear dance party and most prolific gay dance event in the U.S. and Canada. So I got some pictures here for you. Show you here. We got these gentlemen that way, and then wrong way. And another one there. So this is Barracuda, and then some guys doing their thing, dancing. Get that light over there. And then, who's this guy? Oh, yeah, that's your sim guy. That's Mr. Eric Wolf. Mr. Eric Wolf, what's that on your lip? What's that creamy white stuff? Interesting. Anyways, so that's what Wolf really does for a job, or so I've been told. So yeah, if you're all interested, it's Barracuda Canada. So, and I think there's even a Facebook group, and I believe you can find Eric's picture on there. So that's intriguing. Aside from that, they've done all their moves I think they're going to do. Yeah. So I can't see them doing much more. We've got the New York Islanders. Brian, he's right in the mix there in the Metro Division. He's second behind Carolina. He's surely going to add a top 6 forward and top 4 defense on expiring deals. That's got to be what happens there. He'll use some of his 2017 picks, I would think, to do that. Maybe mid-level prospects, something like that. I could see this being a destination for Marian Hossa, or possibly even Tanguay. Not likely a player in the Bufflin deal. His focus is more on Wideman or Gunnarsson out of Arizona. So, yeah, there's less likely that will happen. I would see more of a Weidman or a Gunnarsson go there. So we move into. Yeah. All right. So,
We have a trade to announce. I think you're going to want to hear this.
okay, so we've got another trade to announce. And it is another big deal. This one is involving a West team and an East team, and it is Mr. Dustin Byfuglien has been moved. Half his salary is being retained by Montreal in the deal, and I had done some discussion on where Byfuglien was going. I'll just read the Montreal blog here. I'm hitting the block in Montreal. Others will likely follow. He is strongly linked to Vancouver, who's clearly looking for top defenseman. Ideal return would be a top young 6 forward and a prospect. Robin Lehner could also be pried from Montreal as Miller signed long-term, and they don't see him as a long-term replacement. The goalie market's a hot one right now. Teams could be active, looking for middling, somewhat young goalies that could be had at a reasonable price. They'd be willing to take on veterans signed with term to add to their forward depth, which lacks punch after Max Stretcher being their only real stud. So yeah, they moved Dustin Byfuglien, but it is not to Vancouver. It is actually to the San Jose Sharks. Mr. Joe gets involved again in another big deal, adding Dustin Byfuglien. And the return would be Rickard Rakell, who's a young top 6 forward, having a good breakout year, and Mark Jankowski. I don't know a lot about him. So that looks like a pretty good deal. I can't see any way San Jose would be able to re-sign Byfuglien, so I think this is a rental move. They just wouldn't have the space. And Montreal getting Rakell, that's a good deal for them. So nice move there, guys. Don't mind that deal at all. So we got that one up there now. All these will be posted after I'm done the video. So we have the Washington Capitals. The rumors out of there is Antoine Vermette, Matt Niskanen. They're both dissatisfied with their ice time and their usage there. So they're welcoming a deal out of Washington. However, Washington's also a team that's right in the playoff spots, in third in their division. So be curious how they kind of work that and kind of keep those guys happy. There's also some rumors that they're unwilling to pay the salary that new 20-goal man Zach Smith's demanding. When we reached on Andre for comment, he stated the negotiations are ongoing, but would not rule out trending the pending UFA. So he's trying to decide whether this is a one-off, I guess, for Zach Smith, who's hitting this in a contract year. Good for him, but whether Andre's willing to pay that price or he could be moved as well. So could be some flexibility there. The Capitals brass are also unsatisfied with the progression of their young forwards, Valeri Nichushkin and Kevin Fiala. Both were kept instead of Draisaitl last year. Oops. And both have failed to progress, while Draisaitl is looking at part of a top-line forward with the NHL Oilers this year. So that could be a big mistake. I love Draisaitl myself. I liked him before this year even, so he's one of the players I thought had a good shot at being a really good player. So yeah, he made a mistake there, so I'm just thinking somehow correct that. They're also on the hunt for a number 1 goalie moving forward, but they're not really willing to pay the premium. So I would say they're hunting more for potential UFAs, guys like Rask out of Buffalo, Lundqvist. We've already discussed Bishop. But I think they may end up, because they don't want to pay the premium, I think they'll shift their focus more to a Robin Lehner or Jared Allen. Okay, I just had another trade come in, which means
we have a trade to announce. I think you're going to want to hear this.
All right, another big one. This is better than deadline day. We have a deal between San Jose Sharks again, and I believe it's the Colorado Avalanche. This was a rumored deal that we did actually speak a bit about. So it looks like San Jose is gaining Artem Anisimov, Jake Allen, Granberg, and Voinov. I'm not sure who Granberg would be. I have a hunch I believe who it is, but Granberg. So Voinov, well, I don't know what's going to happen with that deal. I guess it probably comes off. I don't know what happens with this, to be honest with you. I'm not thinking rules right now. So yeah, Jake Allen, Artem Anisimov, Slava Voinov, and it must be prospect. Colorado. Do not see Granberg. Okay, I don't know that part of the deal. Anyways, that's what they're receiving. They are giving up Broden, who we spoke about, Mika Koivu, and Calvin DeHaan. So that's what's going the other way. Oh, it's Peter Granberg, yes. I think he's a Leaf prospect, isn't he? That name sounds familiar anyway. So I think that's who that is. So Broden, Koivu, DeHaan, to Colorado for Artem Anisimov, Jake Allen, Granberg, and Voinov. So that's a pretty big deal. I guess contract talks must have broke down with Joe and Broden. So that's a big one. So this is live. I'm getting this right in here. I'll be honest, a couple of these deals I had ahead of time this morning, and a couple, well, the rest have been coming in as we speak. So it's worked out well. I did know a couple that were in the works that hadn't been finalized. So I was expecting some action, but maybe not to this regard. Just quickly, I guess, on Allen, there was a lot of talk of him, and I guess for those that don't know, the reason he was rumored to be moved, because he's finally taken on a role that he can be really well used next year for teams. But the biggest reason is they have Carey Price in Colorado, so there's absolutely no reason for them to hang on to him, make a deal, and help your team now. So they've done that. So we'll jump away from that deal and go on to, I think we finished with Ottawa. Yeah, they were rumored to be in on Allen, so that one's out of the way. Ottawa Senators. Aaron does a lot of traveling for work, so the rumors with him are the amount of travel he's been doing, that he's had to hire an assistant GM to actually help look after his team. Rumor is that it's former VHL Leafs GM and longtime PHL New Jersey GM, Ron Holmesy. He's previously won championships with New Jersey and PHL. And so it's rumored he's been working behind the scenes for Aaron. So this, based on where his PHL team is and that, and the way he turned this Leaf team here into a joke, this will likely see an even further increase in age to Aaron's team, which is already rated probably the oldest team in the league. And would also likely see him targeting former Leaf fan favorites as Voyager Salming and Wendell Clark. You could also look for Leaf Oiler connection as well, with Glenn Anderson, Grant Fuhrer, or Cujo being brought into the fold. So that would be interesting there, with Ron and Aaron working together if that rumor is in fact true. I'm hitting Boston quickly. Check again. Stuff's flying in here. Nothing for a moment. We have Boston Bruins. If they're able to do a big deal with Pittsburgh, because I guess I should have maybe covered Pittsburgh before Boston. Yeah, let's cover Pittsburgh and then go back to Boston. So we've got Jori Lehtera there. He's been shopped for a little while. He's looking for a first-round pick out of him. The rumored destination there is Buffalo, actually. I'm not sure if that's going to happen just yet, but that's what the return is looking for there in Buffalo. There's rumors of Jamie Benn heading back to Dallas in exchange for a couple of first-rounders. It's also telling me that Peter Angelo hasn't been made an offer by Brad at all, and he's an RFA. So I wonder if he's on his way to Pittsburgh. And Crosby's another name that's been floated around a lot, especially today. I'm hearing a lot of talk on both Pietrangelo and Crosby. So that's some big names. If it was a deal of that size, it would have to be one of the big players I think involved. To me, Vancouver jumps to mind, having Seguin that there, and they have a lot of other good young pieces they could move. It wouldn't be Seguin the deal, but they have the pieces necessary to make a deal. The other teams would have to have the assets and be willing to move them. Would be maybe Dallas, but I don't see them doing a deal for all three guys. And Boston would be the other one I would think have enough assets to do it. They would need some cap movement. So my projection would be one of those teams. If you're talking guys like Crosby, Pietrangelo, Ben, that's kind of where it would be for me. So jump back to Boston. Yeah, if they were able to make a big deal with Pittsburgh, you'd have to look for a guy like Eichel or Provorov to be involved, I think, in a Crosby Pietrangelo deal. As well, if Boston were to do something like that, they'd also have to move Scotty Hartnell for cap relief to make it work financially. So, but that's a deal I think would be well balanced and could happen. And Boston's bold enough to do something like that. So that's my guess with them. Move on to Buffalo. We've got, despite moving 2 top 5 players and looking like a rebuild, Buffalo may actually be buyers this year. So that would be my team. Look for players like Stempniak in Dallas, Hemsky in Toronto, Yager in Detroit if they decide to flip the switch. So Buffalo could actually be buying, even though I believe I've got guys like Ehrhoff and I don't know, I've got a bunch of guys on the block there now. They're kind of being floated out there as rentals for other teams, and if not, I'm still sitting in a position that I can make a run and try and knock Wolf off. So there could end up being just my own rentals. So either way, I'm not really worried about it. I have enough picks now. I'm not really too concerned. Florida, we've got Duncan Keith's been under negotiation for quite a while now. Deal has not been reached yet. They are approaching a long-term contract. But the other one I'm noticing is assistant captain Derek Stepan. He hasn't been offered a contract as of yet. And it's rumored he's being floated out there for trade. So on a guy like Derek Stepan, Columbus would be a team that would be rumored to have some interest there. So Detroit, Sergei Bobrovsky's been rumored to be moved, with him possibly landing in Detroit or Washington. But he is leaning, I would think, I've heard more close deals to Detroit. If Detroit were to miss the playoffs, what I think they would do is they would then ink Neuwirth as a temporary measure to work with Eddie Locke next year, and then I believe Hiller's time, Jonas Hiller's time in Detroit, it's over. Got Detroit here. Matt Murray from Columbus has been rumored to be landing in Dallas. Be something involving Stempniak and Michael Roosevelt and futures, so kind of a deal, something useful to Dallas or some of their veterans, and make Columbus have a little bit of a run. As I spoke about that Stepan one, any deal for Stepan out of, what did I say he was? Sorry, Florida. So a Florida-Columbus deal, I think, would include Colin Miller out of Columbus. Florida would also be looking at a pick and trying to include Anthony Duclair if they could. It's a type of deal Columbus would be able to afford to do, given their pieces on their team. Andrew also has a little thing where he always likes to have 3 picks in the draft, too. He's currently sitting at 4, so I think he could use one of those. Moving one of those for help now would really make sense for him. Derek Stepan's an RFA as well instead of UFA, so he fits in with the age group of his team. He's got guys Dubinsky and Kessler, so he kind of got a good kind of late 20s, early 30s guys. So he's at a point now where he's got to push to make this team either make the jump and go after a cup before these guys get to an age where they're going to start faltering off. So this would really make him a new true contender next year if he did a deal for Stepan. They're also looking for a goaltender, but they'd likely also be looking more at the lower-end guys, kind of like either a Robin Leonard or maybe a James Reimer or Jake Allen. But now I'd said Allen would be too costly for him in the season, and as we've seen, he's just been moved, and it would have been likely more than Andrew would have done. But they could be a big player coming off season in the auction,
If what I think is going to happen and Lundqvist hits the market, I believe Columbus is going to be one of the ones that takes a real run at him, and then they take their cup run next season. So that would be my target spot for Lundqvist in the offseason. We've got. So we're going to go on to Philadelphia and then come back to Tampa. They're looking for a top 6 forward signed beyond next year, to me. Bo Horvat could be a guy involved in that deal, I would think. Their lack of depth in Philly is really glaring. Jim Tandy, he's got a lot of picks next 2 years. So it looks like a rebuild, but that ownership group in Philly is getting very impatient. So the draft will bring a lot of deals, I think, for Philly, and they'll look to add depth rather than using those picks. They're being really active on the trade front. They may even move Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for a couple of big names. Other pieces would be involved, but he says he's not afraid to pull the trigger and make his team ready for next year. If RNH is traded, I've also heard that Oshie will not be dealt. So likely only one of those two guys goes, as he's not really tearing it down. He's looking to set himself up next year. Carolina's been in contact with Philly about a defensive prospect, but I'm told that the offer isn't where it wants to be. I'm not sure who that defensive prospect would be in Philly. Quick peek here. Chances are I won't know who the prospect will be, so I'm not that aware on them. He is after N. It wasn't a trade, so. Prospects. Well, I'm looking up at the prospect there. Winnipeg's also been in touch with him about a player he recently acquired, but there hasn't been an offer made yet. So that would be likely, I would have said Vesey or Tucker, but Vesey has been moved today so to Nashville, so I don't see that happening there. Jake McCabe could be maybe the prospect Carolina's interested in. Jake DeBrusk, I think he's a forward. If Paul's a goalie, Stuart Percy, maybe. Not real sure. Adam Yasiel, I'm not sure of his position either. He's got a few decent prospects there, so not sure who Carolina's target is, but there's some of the names. He's also had a bit of inquiry about Matthew Shane, but it's not near the names of players he thought he was going to be seeing. So, getting into Tampa here. Okay. Wow. Okay. Where's my music?
We have a trade to announce. I think you're going to want to hear this.
You're damn right you're going to want to hear this. Okay, this is big. Real big. So, this is interdivision trades. I have 3 deals laid out here out of one team. This is Philadelphia is involved, which is big. Philadelphia is gaining Alex Pietrangelo and Jamie Benn at 50% salary. So Pietrangelo and Jamie Benn both head to Philly. In return, Pittsburgh is getting Philadelphia's first rounder 2017, San Jose's first rounder 2017, Philadelphia's first rounder 2018, Arizona's second rounder 2016, Dallas's second rounder 2017. So 5 picks, 3 firsts, 2 seconds. On top of that, they are also getting Bo Horvat, Jake DeBrusk, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. That is a big deal. Jamie Benn, Pietrangelo. In return, 3 first rounders, 2 second rounders, Bo Horvat, Jake DeBrusk, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Monstrous deal. So Pittsburgh did in fact move Pietrangelo and Ben. Wow. I don't even know what to say to that one. That's a big deal. That's a very, very big trade. So that would be maybe that's bigger than anything. Even the Ovechkin or Tavares deals, I would say this is a bigger deal. Big one. We also have got to do it.
We have a trade to announce. I think you're going to want to hear this.
Yep, you are. To Winnipeg. Unbelievable. To the Winnipeg Jets. To join Alex Ovechkin is none other than number 87, Sidney Crosby. So Sidney Crosby is now in Winnipeg, joining Alex Ovechkin. Wow. Unbelievable. In return, Pittsburgh gets Buffalo first in 2016, Winnipeg first 2017, Chicago first 2018, Winnipeg first 2018. 3 of those picks are picks that Winnipeg picked up in those other deals earlier in the video. They have now flipped those, pumped them in, and made a deal for Crosby along with one of their own first. Big deal. Winnipeg is going to be a powerhouse in that side, especially if they can do something with some cap later. The only thing I would like maybe seen there is to try and see Winnipeg slide in one of those contracts. But aside from that, they're going for big names and they're getting them. The last deal, also from Pittsburgh, they have moved Marian Hossa and Jori Lehtera. Hossa, the salary has been retained down to $1 million, and Lehtera is, I think, on an entry level. To Pittsburgh is another first rounder from Edmonton in 2017, and it's a second round pick. I don't have details on what the pick is yet, but the team receiving Hossa and Lehtera is Buffalo. That would be my team. So this deal has been sent out. It's been back and confirmed. Basis of the deal is I want to keep Lehtera, sign him. Hossa is more of a rental, and I have some picks to be able to do it. And we'll see what happens with Hossa. I wouldn't mind doing a Solani type deal with him to keep him around until he retires. But I have tons of cap space, so I'm not concerned. That's the minorest deal of the 3. So Pittsburgh has moved Jamie Benn, Alex Pietrangelo, Sidney Crosby, Hossa, and Lehtera all in one day. And in return, they're getting 8 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, Bo Horvat, Jake DeBrusk, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, all in return. Good on them. Oh, my goodness. We have another one.
We have a trade to announce. I think you're going to want to hear this.
Yeah,
New Jersey.
So I'm going to flip back here. This is going to be intriguing. That may change some things too for Florida. Florida's involved in this trade. To Florida, Chris Letang from Pittsburgh at 50% salary. So Florida's getting him on a bargain. I'm wondering if this may influence the Duncan Keith signing. Maybe he ends up being a walk at the end of the year. So that could be a big, big name on the auction. So Chris Letang goes to Florida. In return, Pittsburgh gets Florida's first in 16, Florida's first in 17. So add 2 more first rounders to Pittsburgh's team. They are in a complete and utter rebuild. Just going to reply here. Wow, that is a lot of big, big deals. Oh, I've got another one. Please don't be another trade. Can't keep up. I haven't even got through this. We're approaching an hour. Yep, we have another deal.
We have a trade to announce. I think you're going to want to hear this.
Okay. This is the LA Kings and the Edmonton Oilers. I spoke earlier about both teams, and this fits the bill perfectly. LA Kings have moved Rob Scuderi. They keep half his salary, which is probably going to push them right to their max. They were at $10 million. They got enough, maybe for a little bit more. But Scuderi gets shipped to Edmonton for half salary. In return, LA is taking James Wisniewski, which is a cap move, I believe, and they're gaining Edmonton's second-round pick in 2018. So Lewis gets his top 4, like a 4 or 5 guy in Scuderi. and like it's some cap relief moving forward on that contract and gains an asset. So that's a good deal. Okay. Just reply on that. A lot of talk on the board as well. I'm going to get Wolf to hold off simming. Because guys are antsy to get these posted, and I'm kind of holding them up with this video. But we'll move on then here. Okay. Tony, Tampa Bay. He's been on a constant downward spiral with his team since he made those big moves, showing the intent to go before this year. What's going wrong in Tampa? Anyone's guess. But he could go back and sell off and add prospects again. But I think with doing it, you would kind of give him a year with a negative result because I think he wouldn't gain quality prospects or picks that he had. So I think he's kind of stuck at a point where he's got to go. He's got $58 million committed next year already. Only about $4 million cap right now, even with the cap going up this year. So he's going to have to get creative. But I'd look for Tony to pull his pride up off his ground, his balls out of his ass, and he's going to make some moves, I think, to get into the playoffs. It's too late for him to go back, so he's got to go down swinging. One for him would be Tanguay out of Dallas as a quick fix. That's one I think could happen. We covered Montreal, New Jersey. I could see them doing only some minor moves now. They've done their big deal with Tavares. So, minor moves of Gregory Campbell to either Florida, Buffalo, Ottawa would be likelier for them. And they'd be looking to add something for next year. They've spent the year setting themselves up to be dominant next year, acquiring massive depth and star power, but they still needs and 55 million committed next year already. So look for them to find bargains on some veterans with 2 or more years left on their deal. The other rumor out of New Jersey is Jonathan Drouin. That went to Buffalo. That rumor just won't go away. Under Toronto, rumor has it that the Leafs goaltender Thomas Greiss has been asked to be traded. Apparently, both parties are unhappy with their extension talks, and Greiss is open to the move. Also rumored that there's a rift between the Leafs center Nick Spaulding and Cody McLeod, so something's going to have to be fixed there. Rumors that McLeod was catfishing Spaulding by impersonating 21-year-old girls on Tinder, luring Spaulding to public locations for dates, and sending different transvestite hookers to meet him instead. Both reports are unconfirmed, but would not be surprised given some of the intolerable levels of dysfunction in the Six this year. I also have it on authority that GM Fargas has taken a huge hit to his pride this year. So there's rumors that he's been doing a lot of drugs in his office this season to hide the pain. The other one is he also on a more realistic one is he's also been shopping at Ginla. He could be achieved to be snuck out of Toronto. Philly we covered, and then Pittsburgh we also covered. So the last one I have then. Yeah, we covered Pittsburgh. So the Rangers. The Rangers are likely to have a quiet deadline. They've been making deals they need to throughout the year. They sold a lot of assets early. But they would still have guys like Polak and Callahan, still serviceable pieces. But the asking price right now is said to be too high, so that's like going to come down before they do anything. So that covers my rumors for the league. That's covered. I don't even know how many trades we just had. It's going to take me a bit to post them. I'm going to get the video up, get these deals posted, and wow, what a day. I think the plan is I will have another one of these type of videos with phone calls coming up maybe next week, week after. And come the deadline, I'm looking into just doing a live feed that will run for the day. It'll just sit there running. People can jump in and out. I'll leave phone number up so people want to call in. It'd be great. And then it would be done so it could be watched. I think it gets viewed. I'm going to keep it 10 days after, something like that. So I'm looking to see if I can figure the technology out to make that work. But that would be neat to do. So that's it for today. Get her up, get her loaded, and wow, what a day. A lot of fun. Hope you enjoy.